Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our second installment of the Jamaica High Commission's virtual consular session. Today's session will be focusing upon citizenship applications, and my name is Patrice Laird Grant. I am the Deputy High Commissioner here at the Jamaican High Commission. And with me to my right is Mrs. Tracy Ann Blackwood, and she will be bringing us some remarks in short order. Today we'll also have with us representatives from PICO, and we will also be inviting them to do some presentations to us on the matter of citizenship application. We will then allow later on in the session for you to be able to make your comments or raise questions. You may use the raise hand feature to indicate that you wish to ask a question, or you may type your questions in the chat. Before we proceed though, I wish to advise you that we are recording the session so that we can put it onto our YouTube channel for information for persons who may need to utilize this session for future reference. So just making you know, you have that option of turning your cameras off should you wish to not be seen on the YouTube channel for posterity. With that said, let me now hand over to Mrs. Blackwood, our Minister Counselor. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy High Commissioner, Mrs. Laird Grant. And, I just want to add to the welcome to all of you. It's so good that we're able to meet in this fashion. And this session will be a very useful one because we will get information on the ins and outs of citizenship. And, the High Commission has been experiencing a lot of queries, a lot of emails about citizenship, and there's been an overwhelming interest. I think since the advent of Brexit and coronavirus, persons have really been trying to get those documentations in order. And so, it's something that, if you can, you should pursue for yourself or for your children. And so before I continue, I just want to recognize the presence of the High Commissioner who is with us on this Zoom link, His Excellency Seth George Ramakan. And as I'm continuing, because due to coronavirus, the High Commission has had to arrange an appointment system. But even before coronavirus, we had that intention in mind because it does dignify the person, and it does give us time to focus on the matter and the person, the family that is at hand. And so we've been getting a lot of requests for appointments as well. But just to let you know that this is the way that we are going, and this is the way that we will continue to go for the future, even though we are fully booked out, since December. Just asking for you to be patient with us as we hope to have some solutions for some of those who have been waiting for some time. I must mention the fact that there is an online passport system with the passport office in Jamaica. They can renew your passports directly if you go online, as long as you have a machine readable passport, which is about to expire or recently expired, you can apply online. And so we have been referring persons to that system and that has been really helping in terms of passport applications. Another change in terms of the High Commission is that we have had to be doing it not by cash, not by postal order, but by bank transfer. And so our system here at the High Commission has changed. So when you send in your application, this is passport application now because citizenship is usually dealt with face-to-face. We give you an invoice reference. you have to use that reference number in order to pay, because that helps us in terms of getting your payment linked up with your application and for it to go off to Jamaica as soon as possible. Any other thing, and there may be some sort of delay. We are getting an overwhelming number of mailed-in applications, and we have been trying to deal with that and send off to Jamaica on your behalf. Just a few pointers in the sense that if you are sending in your application by mail, you need to make sure that you complete your form properly and correctly, because sometimes when that is not done, it holds up the whole process. And so without further ado, I want to welcome the Passport, Immigration and Citizenship Agency team on this Zoom call. And I'm going to hand over to Mr. Andrew Winter, who is the Chief Executive Officer of that agency. And he will introduce those members who are on the line, and it will lead into the Head of Citizenship section addressed to us today. Mr. Winter, are you available? It doesn't seem that Mr. Winter is available as yet. So we will go directly to Mrs. Carol Saunders Hammond, who is the head of the citizenship section at the Passport, Immigration and Citizenship Agency in Jamaica. And so we say, welcome, Mrs. Saunders Hammond, and we invite you to take the floor.
Thank you. Good afternoon, fellow Jamaicans and potential Jamaicans. It's a pleasure to join you on the platform this afternoon and to present to you what I know of citizenship and how you can best satisfy your application and to acquire citizenship. Any other question relating to citizenship, feel free to ask later on in the question and answer section. This afternoon, I have with me the manager of the citizenship unit, Mrs. Sandra Johnson Brown. I'm not sure if she's online as yet. I saw her in the participants, but I'm not sure if you're seeing her, but she is with me this afternoon. And she will help to field questions later on. For the presentation this afternoon, I would like to share with you how it is that you may apply for citizenship and the processes that are available to you in the diaspora. We'll also share with you some information on how you can rise above some of the challenges that you encounter, what it is that we have in place, and to let us know if there are any new challenges that you are now faced with that we can develop solutions for. So at this time, I would like to share with you I'm not getting the opportunity to share. You on?
It's on the computer and I have no audio and the camera.
Okay.
You're not getting up at it now.
Are you seeing my screen? Are you seeing my screen?
Yes, you should put it on one lady, but
Not sure. Mrs. Blackwood, are you seeing the screen? Not sure if it is being shared. Seems like it. Let's run with everything.
Hello. Morning, Ezra. Yes.
Are you seeing the screen, Mrs. Blackwood? I think I lost
for a session
audio.
online with UK. So, right, all right.
So I'm not sure if you are seeing the screen. I'm not getting a feedback as to whether or not the screen is seen. Can someone kindly respond to let me know if the screen is being shared? Hello? But are you hearing me? Okay, great. Okay, thanks. So, okay. So I'm told that you are seeing the screen. So let's go. This session hopefully will help us to be more aware of the role and function, as well as the service and the service standards that are offered by PICA in the processing of citizenship applications. It will give us a sense as to what legislation governs the processing of your applications and what processes there are available to you. Now, the role and function of the citizenship unit. It is part of the operations, yes. However, a much bigger role is the contribution that it makes to the border security of the country. So persons who are coming in to apply for citizenship, we do look at your background. We do have an interest in who you are and whether or not you're a fit and proper person to be accorded the status as a citizen of Jamaica. An individual who is a Jamaican must either have been born in Jamaica, acquired citizenship by inheritance, meaning citizenship by descent, or by naturalization or registration, because you would now belong to the country and you must be a legal citizen of Jamaica, having done so. Citizenship, though, provides two sides of the opportunity. It provides you with the rights of being protected as a citizen of Jamaica from the troubles with other nations, but it also gives the government the right to tell you how to conduct certain activities as a citizen. And these are all based on international conventions where it is agreed upon that this is how you will treat someone who is regarded as a national of your country. You belong. The Constitution provides for the entitlement of citizenship. The Constitution tells you how you should be treated if you were born here, how you should be treated if you're the offspring of a Jamaican or being a descendant, how you should be treated if you should be married to a citizen of Jamaica. The Jamaican Nationality Act, on the other hand, gives the minister the right to exercise discretion in the grant of citizenship to persons who have an interest in Jamaica. So there are two groupings of applications by descent, and application for persons who must satisfy another category of qualifications to acquire citizenship. Those processes that we develop consequent on the provisions of the Jamaica Constitution and Nationality Act amounts to 8. So you could acquire citizenship by marriage, or if you are the child of a Jamaican. And those provisions are under sections 3, 4, and 7 of the Constitution. If you are a minor child and your parents or legal guardian wishes for you to acquire citizenship, we would go to section 4 of the Jamaican Nationality Act. If you are a British protected person or a citizen of the Commonwealth, then you would apply for registration and we go to section 3 of the Nationality Act. If you're an alien of the Commonwealth and you wish to apply for citizenship, we go to section 6. We have a very interesting provision in the Nationality Act under section 10, and that is for persons who were born in Jamaica or have a claim to citizenship of Jamaica by descent, but there exists a doubt. The minister is empowered by this provision to say to you, you are a Jamaican, but there is this doubt that existed. So the Jamaican may have been born, but his birth was not registered. And that's the primary group that we serve under this provision of the Act. But we also have persons who are the offspring of Jamaican and have a very serious challenge in proving that they are the offspring of a Jamaican. And so we will take all the evidence that we can be provided with, review those applications, and make a submission to the minister on their behalf to say, please look at these documents. This person is seeking to acquire citizenship. However, there is this doubt, there is this challenge that they are unable to work around. And so we're asking you to look at all the evidence presented and consider. It usually does. Then there is the provision for citizenship under section 9A of the Jamaica Nationality Act for persons who were Jamaicans and had to renounce citizenship. Their circumstances have changed and they want to restore that citizenship. There is a provision for them to be reinstated. So those comprise the 8 provisions under the Nationality Act and the Constitution. So as we say, you would have to be born here, anywhere else in the world that you're born, as from a Jamaican parent, it makes you a descendant. The interesting thing about this provision is that it goes up to infinity. So grandparents, great-grandparents, as long as you have a Jamaican in your line, you're eligible to apply. You may apply if you are married to a Jamaican. You don't have to be in Jamaica to make that application. You have to be here, however, for 5 years as a Commonwealth citizen continuously in order to be eligible for that application. The child does not have to have lived in Jamaica to be considered for citizenship. However, there is a separate provision for children who were adopted by Jamaican overseas. And we will speak about that a little later on. Then you have to be here for 5 years in total, not continuous, but in total, in aggregate, in order to acquire citizenship by naturalization. You don't have to have come back to Jamaica in order to apply for reinstatement. And that's just the broad provisions that we have. And as we said earlier, the Constitution makes the provision for citizenship by descent and by birth. So if you were born in Jamaica before August 6, 1962, you are a Jamaican. If you were born outside of Jamaica, or you became, your parents would have become a Jamaican at the time of your birth, you were still considered to be a Jamaican. If your parents were married before you were born and you were born outside of Jamaica, you are a Jamaican by descent. And so we can consult our Constitution if there is any doubt. In order to apply for citizenship by descent, there is a form that the High Commission has, and it is also on our website, that we ask that you complete. We refer to the person who is making the application as the claimant. So the claimant will provide their birth certificate, the birth certificate of the Jamaican parent. And if you acquired citizenship by adoption, we would like to see the adoption certificate. These documents must have been issued by the appropriate authority, which is the Registrar General of Jamaica. Also, if you were born to someone who acquired citizenship by marriage, then we would want to see the certificate of citizenship which was granted to you. If you also acquired citizenship in case of doubt, then we would want to see that certificate that was issued to you to confer citizenship of Jamaica on you. We ask for 2 passport-sized photographs of the claimant, and one of those photographs must be certified by either a notary, a justice of the peace, or a member of staff, a consular officer in the Jamaican High Commission. Where it is necessary, we ask for the marriage certificate of the parents. Why? Because in some instances, you have the name of the mother indicated on the child's birth certificate with no maiden name. And the only proof that we accept as evidence of the use of the new surname is the marriage certificate. We ask for the valid photograph ID of the claimant and the applicant in some instances where the claimant is a minor. We ask for the valid identification in the form of their passport or driver's license. In the event that there are any change of names, we ask for the official document evidencing the change of name. And that could take the form of a court order, a deed poll, or a change of name deed, which is issued by the appropriate authority and can be verified in an appropriate office within the country. This is very important because we need to be able to verify that you underwent this process to change your name and it is legally done. There is a copy or a record in a repository somewhere that we can always refer to in the event a question should arise. We ask for a processing fee of £60, and we do offer an expedited service that will take £120. And we have an application form, as was said earlier, that allows for you to outline your details and your particulars in a manner that shows that you have a claim. So you will indicate the name of the person for whom the claim is being made, the name of their parents, and in the event that it is going through several generations, you would list their particulars in the appropriate spaces. We want to make the claim here that if the application becomes questionable, we won't meet the processing times. And if there are anomalies involving names that are similar in nature, we do provide a form of declaration that can be used to resolve some of the naming issues. What do I mean about issues with name? If, for example, your name is Carol, C-A-R-O-L, on your birth certificate. However, you gave birth to a child in the UK and now you notice on the child's birth certificate that your name is spelled C-A-R-O-L-E. We do understand some of the challenges that persons at the time of the registration did not take notice. that is one way, or they may have spelt it that way because it is preferred, but they are one and the same person. We don't turn you away. We do allow for you at section 7 of this form to have someone who is older than you and would be aware of the situation, who can verify and attest that you are one and the same person known by the 2 spelling of names, to complete this form. The person would still have to fill out sections 1 to 10, but the essence of the declaration is at number 7, where they would say that the name CAROL referred to on birth register number AB123 is the same person known as CAROLE mentioned on birth certificate EF123. Are we understanding? So that you tell us a little bit about yourself as a declarant. You tell us the circumstances under which you know the person with the spelling difference, and you tell us what that difference is, and from where you would know that person, how you come to know that person, why should we believe you. That declaration is then signed in the presence of a justice of the peace, notary, or someone who is able to administer oath. And that should be sent along with your application for citizenship by descent. This declaration, however, does not take care of persons who have added a name, taken on a new identity, taken on an additional name that is causing them to be a different person from who is presented on their birth certificate. It does not take care of that problem. To rectify that problem, you would now need to go and provide a deed poll or a change of name deed to say that I am now known as. We do understand the circumstances under which persons have taken on name or transposed their names. We do understand. However, what you have done in effect, when you take on an additional name or transpose your name as it is indicated on your birth certificate, is to create a new identity. So this form of declaration is not for that. That can only be remedied by a deed poll or change of name deed. Now, I would like for us to have an appreciation of what is involved in getting your applications to PICA and for us to return the application to the Jamaican High Commission for distribution of your certificate. Jamaican High Commission will accept your compliant applications, but they don't send it directly to PICA. It is transmitted to their head office, which is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade in turn transmit that application to PICA. When we receive it at PICA, we account for the receipt of the application. It involves values, it involves documentation that we must ensure are kept together so that we can treat with the application by the time it gets in the hand of the production team. The team here at PICA will review the application to ensure that it is both complete and compliant. Having satisfied ourselves that it is complete and compliant, we process the certificate of citizenship. Upon completion of that process, we dispatch the completed certificates back to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, where it is sent back to the Jamaican High Commission for delivery to you. That takes some considerable time in transmitting it through the air, through the offices, through the hands of the production team, and to reroute it to the Jamaican High Commission. So I would crave your patience in allowing us to do that efficiently for you. We want to, and we are doing so much more now to improve on how we process your application. However, we appreciate that we are operating in a pandemic. And so from time to time, whatever is happening in the various jurisdictions do impact the transmission time. So we crave your patience and know that we are doing everything from this end to improve on how we treat with your applications. We understand the urgencies involved. And so what we have promised at PICA is that if you're here in Jamaica, you can have a regular service of either 25 days if you're in Kingston, 35 days if you are out in the parishes where we have our outposts. We have an expedited service of 15 days if you are in Kingston and 25 days if you're out in the parishes where we have our outposts. For all our foreign missions, we have a regular service of 25 working days and an expedited service of 20 working days. And that 25 working days for the regular service is what we use to handle your applications and to try to get it back to you in the shortest possible time. It does not mean, however, if there is an extra urgency that we cannot be asked to treat with a particular application any earlier. However, as I said, the UK is a very far place from Jamaica, and so it takes some time to get to us and time for us to get it back to you. And we have no control over the number of days that will take. But we do endeavor to treat with your request in the most urgent timing. And that's for citizenship by descent. There are persons in our midst who would not be eligible to make an application for citizenship by descent. Who are those persons? These persons would include persons who have acquired citizenship by registration as a Commonwealth citizen. If you acquired citizenship when you were a child by registration as a minor, if you acquired citizenship by naturalization, if you are a descendant of a person who acquired citizenship by marriage before the marriage, then you would not be eligible now as an adult to pass on citizenship to your children by descent. And I make mention of it because we have persons in the diaspora who do the honorable thing of adopting children, or they acquired citizenship as a child themselves, and they now want to pass it on to their children and are finding that they are unable to do so. That is why you are excluded. It's how the Constitution makes the provision for citizenship by descent. Now, for persons who are married, the Constitution makes provision in two places for the acquisition of citizenship by marriage. It makes provision for persons who were born before independence to acquire citizenship by marriage, but we are not seeing very many of those persons in that age group making the application anymore. And so this presentation does not include the information on them except by virtue of this mention. However, any man or woman who, after the date of independence, should marry to someone who is a Jamaican, then he or she is entitled to make an application on the basis of that marriage for registration as a citizen of Jamaica. And so the essence of this provision is that you must be in the marriage now. It cannot be that you were divorced or you were widowed. You must be in the marriage now. It must be existing, and you must be together in that marriage. If you are a non-Commonwealth citizen, you would be eligible to make the application if you are married to a Jamaican. However, you would be required to take an oath. That oath is documented on the application form. So you don't have to do something separate for that application. The minister is empowered to refuse your application under some conditions. Because the application is provided for in the Constitution, it is what we called entrenched, and you are entitled to the consideration. However, Section 7.2 of the Constitution makes provision for the minister to refuse that application if he's satisfied that the marriage was entered in primarily for the acquisition of citizenship, and that you have no intention of living together as man and wife. Provision is also made that if you have committed an offense in any country and you were convicted, that your application could be denied. This, however, is limited to persons who were affected by Section 7.2 before March 1999. Those offenses for which the minister may deny your application is carefully documented and provided for under Section 5A of the Jamaican Nationality Act. And it says those offenses include you being involved in violence, fraud, or dishonesty, you being in the production of drugs, the sale of drugs contrary to the law of the land, if you have been convicted in any country outside of Jamaica of an offense punishable by being imprisonment for a term of over 2 years, or if you, by the act or the omission of the act, were convicted in any territory for an offense that would be equally offensible in Jamaica, you could be denied the opportunity of being registered as a citizen of Jamaica by virtue of marriage. So we know that we are good, upright citizens. We don't do those things that would cause our applications to be denied. And so we have the checklist here of what you would do as an upright citizen to make your application. You would complete the registration R1 form, which is available in the High Commission as well as on our website. You would present the birth certificate, the adoption certificate of your Jamaican spouse, your official marriage certificate, the birth certificate of the applicant, the passports of both the Jamaican and the spouse of the Jamaican, we ask for a police certificate of the country in which you last resided if you are in Jamaica. However, for those persons who are living in the diaspora, we ask for the police report as at date. So it must be very recent. It can't be older than 6 months. We ask for your decree absolute. If you were divorced, you were previously married and was divorced before you entered into the marriage, which made you eligible for the application. 2 passport-sized photographs, which should not be older than 6 months, as well as the processing fee. Now, one might be curious as to why we need a police report. Earlier, we looked at the minister's right to deny an application and the conditions under which he could deny an application. We need to know then if any offenses were committed that would put that person who is applying in that qualification range for the consideration of citizenship, yea or nay. So we need to know if there were any offenses which the minister should be made aware of. And here is the application form. Now, the application form is a legislated form. It is gazetted, and we are unable to change it to make it any more customer friendly than it has been to you. We are aware that it says for a woman. However, we have made the necessary request for the amendment to the application form. We are awaiting a response. What we ask our male applicants to do is to convert the form by striking out woman and leave man, and then to fill the application to make it read for the male applicant. So where you would find husband in the body of the form, you strike it through and write wife, and then you include the information for the wife at those points. We are working feverishly to get it changed. Hopefully, we will be getting a response from our legislators on the matter, but until then, this is what we have to work with, unfortunately. And here on the back of the form is the space provided for the administration of the oath of allegiance. So what you would do is to insert your particulars there at your name, and you would have it signed by a justice of the peace or someone who is appropriate to take an oath. The other application that you in the diaspora may encounter is the application for minors. The application is to be completed by either the parent or the legal guardian. The minor cannot submit an application in their own right. The application is granted at the minister's discretion, and he alone has the right to agree or deny that application. Now, with regard to adoptions, if you in the diaspora desire to adopt a child, and should you complete the adoption process in Jamaica, that child automatically becomes a Jamaican. No other documentation will be required to prove that child as a Jamaican. However, if the process is completed outside of Jamaica, that provision is not available to the child. And therefore, the application must be made under section 4.1 or 4.2 of the Jamaican Nationality Act. And that application will be subjected to this checklist where there are forms to be completed and signed by a justice of the peace, notary public. We would want to see the child's birth certificate, the child's passport, the parent's marriage certificate where it is applicable, the parent's valid passport, the parent's certificate of citizenship if they acquired citizenship themselves. If they're in Jamaica, we would want to see their work permit, their tax compliance certificate, the evidence of the child's attendance at school, the parent's bank statement, verification of employment. We ask also for 2 passport-sized photographs of the child and the processing fee. For all applications that are non-descent type, meaning you're either married to a Jamaican, you're here and you satisfy the residential requirements for citizenship, you are a child and your parent or guardian has made an application on your behalf, this process flow is what would apply to you. Your application would be reviewed for compliancy. We would acknowledge receipt of the application and inform of any deficiencies there may be. We would request the due diligence background checks of the applicant. We would receive those reports when they are completed and request any other document that might be deemed necessary to put the application forward. Our case officers would prepare a submission to the review committee where the application would be reviewed by the operations manager, the director of citizenship, as well as the review committee. It would be sent to the permanent secretary after that for a review, and the review committee would send it on to the minister for the final arbitration. We will record the decision on the application. We would prepare a certificate if it is approved, and it would be signed and the security features attached to it. And we would send it back to you with the complimentary letter to say that congratulations. So if you in the diaspora, it would be sent back to you there. The processing time for all non-descent type applications is 24 months, 2 years to the review committee. And that allows us to do our due diligence and to make a proper submission on your behalf, having collected all the information. When your application has been decided on by the Minister of National Security, he is not required to offer any explanation as to why it was approved or refused. His decision or her decision is not subjected to any appeal or review. It is final. So having given you your certificate, we would say congratulations, welcome to Jamaica, welcome home, and we will have some nice ackee and saltfish and breadfruit waiting for you here. Sun, sea, and sand. Thank you very much for listening. You may ask your questions now.
I think a number of questions in the chat.
I've seen them.
Some of which, people just different things to them fill out.
Okay, I am seeing a number of questions already in the chat. I don't know how you wish to proceed, Mrs. Blackwood. I'm seeing one question here. When applying, do you have to send the actual documents, or can photocopies be sent, and how secure are the documents when sent? If you are making an application directly to PICA and you may, the option is available to you, then you would, of course, have to send your original documents. We don't ask you to send your passport, but we ask you for all the certificates involved, that you would send those originals to us for review and for verification. At the end of the process, those official documents would be sent back to you, whether or not your application has been approved. If your application was approved, you would be seeing the certificate in the package as well. We ask that you send your original documents in a secure manner, by courier preferably, so that there is someone who can account for the safety of your document until it gets into our hand. So far, we have not had any challenges with the loss or destruction of any original documents that were sent to us.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mrs. Saunders-Hammond. And yes, thank you. Most persons' mic are still muted. And so we will try and take as many questions from the chat as we possibly can. Maybe to assist the process, what we will do is, are you seeing all the questions? Because we could read them out to you and then you just respond.
You may go ahead and read, thanks.
Right, so one of the first questions we had this evening was, can I fly to Jamaica and apply and collect my citizenship and passport? If so, how long does it take to process?
Yes, you may come directly to Jamaica to make your application. You will be treated as any other person who is applying, and the processing times are what we informed you of earlier. Locally, if you apply for regular service, you have the option of 25 working days, or for the expedited service of 15 days. For the passport services, we have several options that you may subscribe to. We have a same-day process for passport, and next day, 3 days, and 7 working days. So it depends on what you would prefer, what is convenient for you. However, you must await the completion of the process for citizenship before you may apply for the passport. And we do remind you that there is a period for quarantine when you arrive, so you have to factor that into your travel time.
We had also, Mrs. Hammond, we also had some questions that were sent in by email to the High Commission.
Yes.
And one question is, my father is a Jamaican citizen and was born there in the 1950s. He's not on my birth certificate. So I would like some advice in terms of what I need to do to sort out before I can start the process of doing his citizenship, as his absence from my birth certificate has put me off trying.
If the person is intending to apply for Jamaican citizenship, then they must attend the RGD, the Registrar General of Jamaica, to subscribe to the process there to include the father's details on his birth certificate as to his surname, if it is not there. They would also have to subscribe to the process available in the UK for the inclusion of the father's particulars on her own birth certificate. We must be able to prove the relationship between father and daughter. So those are 2 corrective steps that they would need to take.
Okay. And And there's another person who has asked about the fees, as if, is there any special fees for pensioners who, in terms of doing applications, because the fees are quite high?
Unfortunately, no. The fees are gazetted and we are not in a position to give a discount. We have to charge the fees as they have been gazetted.
Okay, and this question, I think you might have you would have covered it in your presentation, but just a little reminder that both parents are born in Jamaica, and can I get citizenship, and can their grandchildren, and how long does it take to get a passport after you have had citizenship?
Okay, so thank you for that question. The person who has two parents is in a very fortunate position because they have options. Now, either parents would make you eligible to make the application. You just have to choose which one. And in making that decision, I would encourage them to look at the birth certificates and use the parent with the most consistent naming. So for example, we spoke earlier about parents who had spelling challenges with the name or the addition of a name. You would want to use the parent who has the name consistently indicated in both birth certificates, yours and the parent. So the Jamaican birth certificate says Carol Saunders Hammond. Your birth certificate should say Carol Saunders Hammond when you look at the claim of the parent's name.
Next part was the grandkids.
The grandchildren are also eligible. As we said earlier, the provision goes into infinity. Any number of generations are now eligible to make an application for citizenship by descent. The responsibility is yours, however, to prove that they are Jamaican by descent. The application form makes provision for you to make a claim up to the great-grandparent. So you would simply provide the birth certificates for the oldest generation Jamaican and the birth certificates in between up to the person for whom the claim is to be established. Regarding the passports, we have several offers here. We have a same-day offer, we have a next-day offer, a 3 days offer, and a 7 days offer when you come to Jamaica. So it would be a matter of what is convenient for you.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned that that was in Jamaica.
Yes.
So persons would realize that the High Commission cannot provide those expedited services as well.
No, we could not. We could not. In 7 days, the maximum time there, in 7 days, the application may not even have left the UK.
Yes. And question in the chat, do you need to have citizenship first before applying for a passport?
Yes, a Jamaican passport is only processed for persons who are Jamaican and can prove it.
And question, which is, she is very stressed, she says in the email. She has been trying for years to progress her citizenship application and has come across many barriers along the way, trying to get evidence of her deceased parents to support her application. For example, I do not have all the details required on the online application form for a copy of my deceased parents' marriage certificate, for example, the name of the minister who presided, her mother's birth certificate. She is unable to provide evidence of her baptism, school attendance to support application for a copy of the birth certificate to show her father's name. Can the service exercise some flexibility and discretion where all details are not present, but you have sufficient information provided to undertake a search of records for, I think, for either of my parents. As it stands, I'm unable to progress my application, which is quite frustrating and very upsetting.
I can imagine. However, it is not the part of our remit to do the search. As we said, the onus is on the claimant to make an application for citizenship by descent and to provide the evidence of that claim. We do not intervene at PICA. We do appreciate some challenges. If you are having a document problem, that sounds more like our registrar general department to me. We would not be able to intervene. We would not even be able to do a search. We don't have a similar repository, so we could not go into that repository to do any search. So we do not have the resources to do that or empowered to do that. You would necessarily have to provide the information to the Registrar General of Jamaica for them to do the search of their repository to find the record of your parents.
And another question coming from a colleague who is monitoring the meeting. She wanted to find out if the person doesn't need to send the passport for identification when they're sending the application by mail to your office, to citizenship. How do you verify their identity? What is it that they need to do? Do you not need any kind of identification?
We do. We still need to see a photographed ID, and we still want one of the mentioned IDs. So it would either be your passport or your driver's license. And for that, we would take a certified copy. We would have the details and we could call the issuing authority or the High Commission to assist us in verifying the identity of the individual. However, we ask for the supporting certificates, birth certificate, marriage certificate, that those be originals when they come to us.
This is a very interesting one, which I think the person would have had your answer, because she's asking, do parents/grandparents need to be alive for the applicant, or can you use the deceased relatives link? But I think you might have answered that by going back about the generations.
Yes.
And another one with regards to the spelling of names. My dad's name is spelled wrong by a letter. It should be an A and it is an E. Can I still apply? Both my parents are deceased. My siblings have correct spelling on their birth certificates.
If the difference in the letter is material, so that the pronunciation of the name is different, then we may have a problem. We may. It's difficult to appreciate without knowing what the name is. So I'm not sure if it is, I could say Donovan and Donovan. I've seen where quite a few Jamaicans with the D-O-N-O-V-A-N on their birth certificate from RGD, presenting D-A-N-O-V-A-N. So it's Donovan and Donovan. That spelling, we can appreciate and use the form of declaration to clarify. Because we understand in our Jamaican culture that the O and the A sometimes get a little mixed up. So we do appreciate that, and it is for those reasons that we establish the use of the form of declaration. So if her situation would fit in that scenario, then the declaration would suffice.
Okay. And someone has said, I am I'm British, but I have an expired Jamaican passport from the 70s issued by the Jamaican High Commission. Then do I need to pay to reapply? I think they mean for Jamaican citizenship.
But they have a British passport.
A Jamaican passport that was issued in the 70s.
Oh.
I think there was a time where persons, by proving that their parents were Jamaican,
Yes.
children were issued with a Jamaican passport, but they did not necessarily have done the Jamaican citizenship process.
Yes. We have quite a few people who fit into that situation. And what we have done in recent time is to ask those persons to come forward, make their claim, and obtain the document to prove that they are Jamaican. And there is still a waiver of the fee, the citizenship processing fee for those applications in place. So that person would best make the application, because things could change with regard to the fee. But while we have a waiver on the fee for the application for citizenship, there's no waiver on the fee for the passport. So that person may submit the application for the citizenship certificate, based on which they would apply for the renewal of the passport.
Going back to citizenship by marriage, you had mentioned about the spouse being together. What if you're married but separated, but legally separated? Can you still apply through marriage?
The aim here is to be granting citizenship to persons who are in a marriage. The marriage must be subsisting. So if they are legally separated, then that could pose a challenge. There will be some hesitation. It doesn't preclude them from making the application, but the fact that they are separated will be looked into.
Okay. And there's another one, which is would be another complicated case. My grandfather died in 2003. His parents never married. So his birth certificate is under his mother's maiden name. He seems to have started using his father's surname when he joined the British RAF and signed up in Kingston. All of his friends are now dead, so I can't get anyone to verify this name change. I do have his marriage certificate and death certificate using his father's name. I don't want to apply if this is a stumbling block.
The means by which he changed his name is very questionable here. You don't just simply go and write a new surname because you joined the army. That's not an official change of name process. And so it is questionable. I am not sure how that person is going to be helped.
So it would definitely be.
It depends on the provision for, is he still alive?
No, he said he is deceased.
I don't know that you can do a deed poll for a name post-mortem.
Okay. Okay. There are quite a few more questions on this system. There was another colleague that asked about citizenship by descent. We know that in citizenship by virtue of being married to a Jamaican, there is the police record check. Someone was wondering, would there be a similar things for citizenship by descent for persons over the age of 18?
No, there is no.
Or criminal record check?
No security check for citizenship by descent.
They're asking, why is that not the case, seeing that they're adults and may have committed an offense?
Well, as I said earlier, the provisions are under two pieces of legislation, the Constitution and the Jamaican Nationality Act. The Constitution provides for those applications for which persons are entitled. citizenship by descent and citizenship by marriage. The other one for the minors is under the Nationality Act, which is approved at the minister's discretion. Citizenship by descent is not at anybody's discretion. So regardless of what your background may be, the important thing is that you can prove that you have that claim. I cannot deprive you of your right. It is your right. And that is why we do not intervene when you have anomalies with your documentation, because it is your right and you are to prove your right. And when it is proven, it is done.
And I'm not sure if you can answer this, but I'll throw it out there. I never had a Jamaican passport as I came to England on my mother's passport. And also one of my, I want to apply for one and also one for my daughter. Do I need to do mine first or can I apply for both of them at the same time?
You never had a Jamaican passport before you came on your parents' passport. It means then that you would have to have that passport to prove how you traveled. So you could get a Jamaican passport, but you must evidence that you had a passport in your, the right to travel on your mother's passport.
How can that be done? Can you clarify that, Mrs. Hammond?
They would just have to have the passport, the mother's old passport, expired though it be.
And if it's lost?
That's a different challenge.
What would be the challenges there? What
there would be,
what could be done?
The passport unit would have to check their record to see if there is any evidence, and it can be a difficult one to prove. That I don't know what year this person is thinking of now when the parent would have had the passport. That sounds like a long time ago, and therefore it's a matter of the record. What can we find for the mother at this point? So it would be, I would suggest that the person comes into the High Commission and the question, be subjected to an interview where you could glean some more information and pose a proper question to the Passport Services Unit, wherein they can look in their record to see if there is any assistance that can be offered.
Okay. Oh, I think she has mentioned that her mother's is a British passport. I suppose it's one of those ones that Jamaicans had before 1962. Would that make a difference?
It would. I am not sure that PICA would have any record of passports dating back to that time.
Okay. I think that might be, did we? No. And another question, I was born and schooled in Jamaica, came to the UK in 1965 on my own passport, which is now expired. I served in the military for 9 years. And for some reason, it was not picked up by the authorities that what I thought was my birth certificate was in fact a certificate of registration of my birth. When I tried to make an online application, RGD, for a substitute birth certificate, I was advised that the number I presented was not valid. However, after 7 more attempts, I attempts at securing the correct details in various ways, I've been met with a stone wall. And I have not received any response to my letters for the past 4 years. I'm not sure that this is one that you can answer, because this seemed to be a Registrar General's Department question.
Yes, that would have to be posed to the Registrar General.
Yeah. Which one? I have my father's first passport when he came to the UK, and his new passport he applied for that has also expired. I have my birth certificate and death certificate. And I have my birth certificate, and I think she means, or the person means my father's death certificate.
Yes.
In terms of applying for the Jamaican citizenship. Can those be used?
We would need his birth certificate. We would absolutely need his birth certificate to prove that he was born in Jamaica.
Okay, someone is saying both them, Hannah and her cousins, want to apply, but they're all going through the same grandmother with the birth certificate. Can that work?
They're cousins.
Yeah. Can they all send in their applications together?
Yes, they may. They may. The important thing is that they have the supporting documents to prove their lineage. So the grandmother would have had 2 children, and they are apparently children of 2 siblings. So they would each have to have their parents' birth certificate to link them to that Jamaican grandparent.
And someone is asking, can my father who lives in Jamaica submit an application on my behalf in Jamaica? And what is the process?
If the person for whom the claim is being made is an adult, then he or she would have to give the parent authorization to make the claim on their behalf, written authorization. And the process would remain the same, that he would have his own birth certificate, the birth certificate of the claimant, and any other supporting document that would be deemed necessary based on our discussion, the photographs and the fee. And the notarized copy of his ID. That is the claimant's ID, passport or driver's license.
Okay. And last question. My mother is British and I came on her UK passport. She was born in the UK, but moved back to Jamaica with her parents at a young age. She came back to England after having me in Jamaica, so I have a Jamaican birth certificate. I have been here since I was 4 years old. So would I need to apply for citizenship so I can go ahead with applying for a Jamaican passport?
Where was this
This makes some
born?
sense.
If she was born in Jamaica, she would have a Jamaican birth certificate. There is nothing that the citizenship unit needs to do for her. She would apply as any other Jamaican by presenting her birth certificate, completing the passport application form, providing the appropriate photographs and the fee.
Thank you. I think we've come to the final.
Thank you, Mrs. Saunders Hammond. We have come to the end of our question and answer session. I do hope that persons would have been satisfied with the responses provided to their respective questions. Should you have any additional questions after this session, we invite you to submit those questions to Consul, that is Consular, CONSULAR,
jhcuk.com. I will now hand over to Mrs. Tracy Blackwood to do the closing segment, and Mrs. Vivian Sevo, who has been fielding the questions so far.
Yes, thank you so very much, Deputy. It has been quite an informative session today. I think we here at the High Commission have learned quite a bit, and I think persons on the chat have also learned and benefited from, this whole experience. We do have a number of queries, especially as it relates to our appointments. And I see somebody saying, please release some more appointments. Now, the thing is, how do you release appointments? You'd have to be able to facilitate those appointments by having the kind of support necessary. And so we ask for your patience. Once the whole country opens up, we expect that our arrangements will be different going forward. But we do know that we have quite a bit of challenge in terms of persons wanting to make appointments. And we are currently looking into it, but please bear with us in terms of the kind of infrastructure that we need to put in place to deal with persons in a certain manner, especially in this coronavirus situation. The structure of our consular section is quite small, and as such, we have to put in safeguards with respect to both our staff and the public at large. So whereas before it was a general open session, it can no longer be like that, but we will certainly look into that, and in due course, hopefully that will open up. Mrs. Saunders-Hammond has put forward the suggestion that persons can also send their applications directly to Jamaica. And so that is another option that you can exercise when it comes to citizenship. With respect to passport applications, those persons who can apply online, this is one of the options that you have, because you get your passport back in 4 weeks. If you have a passport that has been outdated for quite a long time, then certainly you can send that application in by mail, but of course it has to be certified by an appropriate official, whether you're general practitioner, your lawyer, minister of religion, and so on. And that information is on our website. We do get a lot of queries, and we are unable to answer all of them, but a lot of information is available on our website. And certainly I'd invite you to look at that. A lot of persons would like to have a conversation with everyone, but there are just a limited amount of staff here. And so I would encourage you to just continue to look at our website as we seek to serve you here in the High Commission. I do know that we have been extremely pressed over the past couple months, and persons here have been supporting persons and so on. And you might not see everything that happens, but we certainly have a set of staff that is committed to the task and have been going beyond the call of duty to get things done. So with all that said, I want to thank you for your time and participation. And of course, if you have additional queries, then you can send it forward. Thank you so very much, Mrs. Saunders-Hammond, for all the input that you have made, and for everyone here at the High Commission who have been a part of this arrangement. And thank you so much, members of the Jamaican community.
Thank you, everyone, for being with us this afternoon. Thank you again to our presenter, Mrs. Carol Saunders-Hammond. Thank you to my colleagues for facilitating the question and answer sessions as well. And most of all, thank you, our attendees for the questions posed so that we can have a sense of some of the challenges that you are facing and see how we can better assist. I do invite you to check the Jamaica High Commission's YouTube channel because we do have a session that was done prior regarding passport applications and applying for your passports online. So please check out our channel for that session. Thank you again and good evening to all. God bless.